And welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast, live from the Xfinity mobile studios, presented by Doodad Dental, Xfinity, and TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Bo Wulf, and we've got the Duff man back from vacation, looking tanned, rested, and ready. We're here to talk about a game none of us will ever forget. We watched it as the Eagles closed out the preseason with a memorable defensive stand to secure the victory. Something to something. Fran, how are you?
I think we will all remember where we were the day Dallas Gant made that stop on the goal line. Just an unbelievable moment. Yeah, great play. I thought when before they showed the replay, I thought it was more Sykes than Gant.
Yeah.
But
just a full stick. No, what will you remember most about this game? The Dallas Gant stick or Eli Ricks getting hit in the little canards?
I thought you were going to go with all the testicle talk that followed after Eli Ricks' the collision. But
man, you get there, you're gonna need a long time to recover.
Yeah, there was a lot there. I think that what am I going to remember most? I mean, how about the John Metchie catch on the very first play of the game? It was all down.
No, I think if I remember anything from this game, it will be the Keelan Robinson trying to down the punt deep into the end zone. That was funny. I mean, that was good stuff.
I mean, we had quarterbacks and running backs running into each other. It was as like the final preseason game is always like typically bad. This was like a bad one. This was a memorable bad game on both sides.
And yet, things in this game matter that we need to discuss. And so let's get into it. Let's start with the Righteous Felon Beef of the Week, Fran. Now, what you need to know is that at Righteous Felon, the Beef of the Week is what they bestow upon their Employee of the Week. So this is you identifying. We will both pick one. Identify who you thought was the player of the game here for the Eagles, or at least in the sense of like pushing for a roster spot. Who moved the needle today?
Yeah, as far as who moved the needle, I thought that Montrell Johnson, your guy. Montrell Johnson, I thought he showed some nice things. I would like to ask you what you make of some of the inactives in this game.
Yeah, there were some very interesting ones.
Because so Montrell Johnson, we'll stay on this topic. Montrell Johnson plays the lion's share of the snaps. We don't have the official snap counts yet, but it seemed like he was out there most of the time. We saw some Keelan Robinson.
15 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown.
Yep, a couple really nice runs in there. Then A.J. Dillon inactive. Now, is it a case of we've seen enough of A.J. Dillon? We don't need to do an evaluation here, whether or not what he does in this game is not going to make or break his roster spot, or is it he's on this team?
I think it's what he does in this game is not going to make or break his roster spot. And more to the point, we want to see Montrell Johnson because we are evaluating which one of these guys we want to keep if we want to keep either of them. I thought Montrell Johnson looked good tonight. I don't think he looked too good that you have to keep him.
Right.
I wish there was a little bit more, just a little bit of make you miss at the second level when he does get through the line.
Yep.
He ran over that one guy in the open field, which was nice. But there were a couple other opportunities where he had either a chance, I thought, to either run around a guy or run through another guy, and didn't really offer that. So to me, it's less about do we need to keep Montrell Johnson over A.J. Dillon and more about if we choose to play some roster shenanigans and cut A.J. Dillon and we lose him, are we okay with Montrell Johnson as the practice squad elevation backup plan if we don't claim somebody else on waivers? And I kind of think I would be okay with that.
Yeah, and I know you and EJ talked about that a little bit this week about some of the things that we could see from Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office as we get closer to Tuesday. I am going to be fascinated to see that position in particular, running back, and I think you actually pointed that position out specifically as. This could go in any of number of ways. I do think that is going to be interesting. Montrell Johnson, he showed some flashes tonight. I would agree that it's not enough to say like, oh yeah, we definitely want to make sure we keep this guy on the 53. But there are a few other ones as well in terms of like interesting inactives here for this game as well.
So also inactive for this game. Now, we had talked about this before, expected it, that Matt Pryor did not play on the offensive line while Darian Kinnard and Brett Toth did have to play.
Yes.
And Kinnard played into this game. And that one I actually do take as Matt Pryor's on the team, and not we don't need anything to evaluate there.
I agree. I think that is mostly Pryor's on this team. Now, do you take that as Pryor is left guard?
I don't know if I take it as that. He hasn't taken a single snap there.
Yeah.
That's not what Stout does. Like, he wants those guys to get the reps together. So I don't know. That's an interesting one. Now Josh Uche only recently came up with an injury, with a groin injury, which I thought was an interesting one. But I guess if he's injured, you can't play him. I don't know if he's on the team. I think he's likely to be on the team. And then Kelee Ringo similarly has an injury, so he couldn't play in this game, and I think he otherwise would have played in this game.
Yeah, and obviously no Adoree Jackson as well in this one.
Right.
I would say when I go through the film this weekend, I will be interested to just see like the McWilliams, Jakorian Bennett reps, just to see how both of those guys looked over the course of the night. It felt to me like Mac was better, but he might have just popped more. But that's a position where you do want to really watch the film and see how those guys look. So I would say of all the players that played, those are the two I'm most excited to see.
Well, it was interesting from not only who was inactive, but who moved around, because Mac McWilliams started this game on the outside opposite Jakorian Bennett, and then played most of the rest of the game inside as a nickel.
Yep.
Which that's where he played the first preseason, or the first couple weeks of camp. And he missed a preseason game, then he comes back and only plays on the outside. So he did a little bit of both in this game, and then you see Jerry Kennard moving all over the line. I thought Jakorian Bennett, by the broadcast, it was kind of like the the Ronald Darby thing we've always seen, where he was in a lot of tight coverage, but still surrendering the catch.
Yes, that is what it looked like a number of those times. So that's why in that position, especially when you get to the preseason broadcasts, typically don't show you a ton of great replays. Just just in terms of overall reps, with the crew being together, usually don't see a ton of great replay angles. So that's one where I am going to rely heavily on the All-22 there.
All right, well that'll do it for the Righteous Felon Beef of the Week. Use code PHLY20 for 20% off your order at righteousfelon.com. And that takes us, Fran, to the forward play of the game, which I'm going to give, without question, to the very nice interception by Parry Nickerson, the veteran nickel corner, 30 years old, who has played very well in both of the last two preseason games. Came in last game for Brandon Johnson, did a lot of nice things. And here is my question for you, Fran. Is there a chance that Vic Fangio is so disappointed in the outside corners that he does actually consider playing Parry Nickerson in the nickel with Cooper DeJean on the outside? This is a guy who is not spectacular, but he is going to be in the right place.
Number one, the interception was awesome. Just a great play, in terms of understanding what your role is in the coverage. He's got to get wider than the widest underneath. So he is the buzz defender there in cover 3. So he's got to get out towards the sideline. That receiver is running out that way. He's got to be outside that route, but his eyes never leave the quarterback. And so he matches the route stem perfectly. The receiver did a nice job of working upfield before breaking out. But Parry was able to just mirror that movement, and then you saw that closing ability. This is a guy that ran, in the 4.2s, low 4.3s when he was coming out of college, and that burst did show up there. I thought it was a great play. I do agree with you. I thought that he popped on the film last week against Cleveland as well. So a nice stretch here in the preseason for Parry Nickerson. To answer your question, I don't think so, man. I would put it under 5 turkeys that they go that route. I know Ross Tucker alluded to it on the broadcast that he would be very surprised if the Cooper regime wasn't the nickel, just because of the value that he brings there.
Sure.
And obviously we know that Scott Graham and Ross are in production meetings with coaches leading into this game. So I would be surprised, especially even just watching last year. Like I just think that to remove him from that spot, I think that would just have such a number of ripple effects on the rest of the defense.
But could that possibility, just as a plan C, be enough to keep Nickerson on the roster?
Yeah, practice squad. I think that he's a prime practice squad candidate, and I think that I'd be interested that would be an interesting study actually. Is how have teams, since COVID and since like the change in the practice squad rules and the expansions there, how teams have really divvied up like between like vets and like young developmental players. I think Parry Nickerson has been in the league long enough now that you would categorize him in that former group. So I think when you're looking at him, I do think that he would make sense as a guy you want to try and keep around on the practice squad.
Okay, so that'll do it for the forward play of the game. Nice job out of Parry Nickerson. Okay, a couple things. We're not going to stay long here, Fran. I want to get to the quarterback, but just a couple other players and positions, things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, Ainias Smith making the roster last year, where like everybody who watched all summer was like, man, he has had a tough camp. Like It is hard to make the case that based on the camp, he deserves to make this team. And yet he made the team. Probably in large, he's on injured reserve and then brought back, but in large part because of the draft pick investment. Is there anybody this year who we think has looked not great, but who could still slide on based on whether it's investment or draft pick, whatever it is? Like, could Cameron Williams make it, even though he hasn't looked great? Could Antoine Powell-Ryland make it? He had a very nice sack tonight. That was the first time he's flashed all summer long.
All summer.
But that was a nice, nifty pass rush move he had to get that sack. Could Lewis Seen make it? Because he has that first round pedigree, even though he hasn't really done much all summer. Is there anybody like that where what we're kind of starved for choices at the back end of the roster? Why don't we just keep this guy around a little longer?
Does Kenyan Green fit that?
That was the other one. That's the other one I meant.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Kenyan Green would be one of the first names that would come to mind there, just because look, he came over in the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade. You have the injury to Landon Dickerson. There's a proven level of adequate play there. Now he hasn't done it here, but he's done it in the NFL. You were at practice this week. Like, was he still with the threes all week and with the backups all week?
Yes.
So nothing has changed there.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just there, I feel like there will be some surprises.
Yeah.
Come Tuesday. Okay, what did you make of Kyle McCord tonight? Played the entire game.
Yep.
No Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and it was also coming on the heels of him getting most of the reps with the twos all week because Tanner McKee is dealing with a finger injury, and that frankly is something that we will have to pay attention to. But Kyle McCord in this game, 15 for 35, not ideal. For 136 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception for a 42.1 quarterback rating. What did you make of it?
Could have been like 3 or 4 picks. Was not a game. What I would say is that this is the case at every position, but it's especially the case at quarterback. What we see is an incomplete picture. It's the tip of the iceberg. Everything that's underneath the surface of the water is the stuff behind the scenes, in the locker room, in the meeting rooms, dealing with coaches. What is this guy doing behind the scenes to earn the faith and the trust of the coaches and of the front office? This is somebody that we can develop. If what we've seen from what they have seen from him is that from McCord is that I'm not quite sure if we want to be able to keep this guy, and then he goes out and he has a game like this, then it's an easy decision. If he's done everything right and he's been aces and he's like, hey, this guy he's got the scheme, he's completely locked in. We feel like he can develop into QB2, even if he's not QB2 right now. By the end of his rookie deal, we think he can get there. Then you keep him on the 53. But what we've seen and what I've seen, up close at practice over the course of the summer, and I know that you and EJ have talked about that extensively over the last few days about how EJ is just flip flopping back and forth here on the QB3 discussion. But I think when you're looking at what McCord, it hasn't been great for most of the summer, and the areas where he needs to be good, he's not there yet, right? And so it's been flashes here and there, but tonight was not a good night for Kyle McCord.
To be fair, I actually thought his best stretch of the summer came this week in practice when you were not there, and he got to work with the twos a little bit more and a better quality of receiver and better offensive line. Tonight was not great, and I mean, I don't think that Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to make the team over him. I think it is more likely that if they're not thrilled with McCord, that means they're going to try to find that, they want to have a developmental third quarterback. So it could be somebody they find from elsewhere. I'm not willing to write off Kyle McCord, but I would say, you think about the Tanner McKee preseason, and obviously that's a much different level of performance. But it was very clear then that this is a guy who has the tools to potentially develop into a starting caliber quarterback. That is the ceiling here. And I don't think Kyle McCord has that ceiling from the physical tools and stuff. I think it is more, man, if everything goes right and he puts it all together, he could be a mediocre backup. That's the level I feel.
Yeah, I think that's
which is still a valuable roster spot. But I don't see the ceiling that you would see with
I agree with everything there. And again, the thing that could change that would be if he has just been awesome in the meeting room, and the coaches are this guy has everything that we want from an intangible mental standpoint. It's just that we have some things that we have to clean up on the field. Then they'll feel a lot better about keeping him on the 53.
I also feel like just aesthetically, listen, we can maybe some of the decisions are not great. Maybe some of the ball placement is not great. Just the aesthetics of the ball that he throws is not my favorite. But
yeah, I mean, but that's kind of where I was with him at Syracuse, though, man. It's Ross talked about it on the broadcast tonight, where it's he is a pure pocket quarterback, and it's all right. Well, if he's a pure pocket quarterback, then it's you're relying on decision making, ball placement, arm strength, pocket mobility, those are the things that you're going to rely on. Those aren't areas of strength for him right now, right? And so that's troublesome when you're talking about what that ceiling could be.
All right, let's go quick hit on a couple other things.
Yeah.
Anything? John Metchie had a catch for 14 yards and a drop in this game.
Yep. Notable
in any way to you?
A little bit of what I've seen from him, both with the Houston Texans and going back to Alabama. There were a few times where I just all right, let me just lock in on Metchie because I didn't get to see him at practice this week. So you see the twitch, you see the quickness, the burst in and out of cuts. I didn't see every blocking rep from him tonight, but I'm excited to see that on film. But he has had issues at the catch point at times, and so the drop didn't completely surprise me. But he showed I mentioned that twitch. He showed that ability to separate quickly at the top of a route, and he showed that a couple of times, and certainly on the first play of the game where McCord was able to hit him for the first down.
He and Darius Cooper both played a few series in this game. Ainias Smith played deeper into the game. Cooper had just one catch for 8 yards. Although, I mean, I'm in the tank for the guy, but I did feel just that one catch, it was not a good throw. It's thrown behind him, and he plucked it so clean. It's a good player.
Have you fit him for the jacket yet? Check it out for the bus.
Well, no, because I expect that over the course of his career, he's gonna, his body's gonna change, right?
Right.
By the time he's getting into Canton, who knows?
Sure.
How shoulders will have gotten.
Right. What do you make of Terremiah Trotter Jr. playing as much as he did?
Jahan Campbell's going to start week 1.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing I thought. Yep.
I think, listen, Trot had some really nice plays tonight.
He did.
He has all summer in the box. And yet there was one play tonight where it was an end around or just a wide sweep by the Jets offense.
Yep.
And you just saw Trot have to go to the sideline from the middle of the field, and you could notice that he's just a tick slow there.
Yep.
And Howie has focused so much on team speed on defense and traits and stuff, and I think Terremiah Trotter Jr. is an ideal backup linebacker. He's very well suited to do that. But traits-wise, he is lacking something, and you saw it there. And when you have somebody like Jahan Campbell who has all those traits, he's going to get on the field.
The last thing I had in my notes that I wanted to hit you with, but see, like these are the things that I wonder how much you are willing to divulge, knowing that we have the King of the Beats competition.
No, I'm an open book. I'm an open book because I haven't decided anything.
Okay, well, there are a few guys that have flashed during practice and during preseason games that didn't get a ton of run tonight or didn't get run until the second half.
Yes.
And so to me, like these are some of the situations, the Coyote Awashikas of the world where it's like, hey, you know what, we're trying to hide this guy in the preseason games to try and see if we can sneak him into the practice squad. What was the most notable example of that for you in this game?
The most interesting one to me there tonight was Maxon Hook, who had sort of moved up a little bit in the depth chart by the end of the week and was taking second team reps in place of both Andre Sam and Tristan McCollum. And he did not play until like midway through the fourth quarter, or it felt like maybe fourth quarter in this game. Now he had an ugly missed tackle on that touchdown run.
Yes.
And I think he had another missed tackle as well. So I think this is kind of one where maybe it worked out for the Eagles. If they were thinking about keeping him and he had these reps and they weren't very good, they can probably just still sneak him through to the practice squad. Who came out on that front to you?
Lance Dixon was the first one that came to mind there. Just seeing Dallas Gant as much as we did, I was like, all right, where's Dixon at? And Dixon, we did see him late in the game, but he was one that
I think there was a series where he came in before Gant actually, but then there was some kind of rotation there.
Yeah, but the big thing is obviously with trying to plot out the 53. You're not trying to hide the guy. If you're going to keep him on the 53, you're hiding the guy if you're going to cut him and trying to get him through to the practice squad. And so that's that's why I didn't know how much you were willing to divulge there for our peers.
Interesting. And defensive tackle is interesting because all those guys did play. Byron Young and Gabe Hall and Ty Robinson. Did you notice Ty Robinson at all?
Nothing that moved the needle one way or the other. Byron Young sniffed out a screen. Nice. I thought he made a nice play out in the flat.
Patrick Johnson continues to crush the preseason.
Yeah. Yes.
He could make the team. I don't think that would be crazy.
No, he could. You mentioned Antoine Power Island. It was really the only time I've I don't want to say thought of him.
The play before he had a good rush. So he put together a two-play package. But those
ironically enough, I actually noticed him a couple plays after the sack fumble. So it might have been not a 2-play package, it might have been a 4-play package.
Now we're talking. And then last thing, the tight ends. EJ Jenkins had a catch on the sideline. Kylen Granson had a nifty little move in the open field. You could lean either way there. Or
I feel good about the Granson. I was alone on Granson Island back in the spring.
You guys were. I guess you were actually.
You were because you and our former coworker high-fived behind me. It was the only thing you guys agreed upon all off season. It was August 19th, Harrison Bryant Day. So no.
No. I didn't agree on Harrison Bryant Day. I just agreed
that it was going to be Harrison. That it was Harrison Bryant as tight end 3. No, but
we're talking like 35 to 30 turkeys.
Yeah. Well, I feel that. Especially with what Granson does on special teams, but it's not that EJ Jenkins doesn't do anything on special teams. So he has a role there as well. I think that Granson just does a little bit more.
Okay. All right. I think we've over delivered here.
Van Sumeren with a catch.
Yeah. And then they had that one 21 personnel, a fullback offset hand off to Montrell Johnson. Like Ben Van Sumeren gets like a mediocre block off. Okay.
You
we throwing a parade for that? Ben Van Sumeren as a person. I just like this idea that he's a lock on the roster. Like, dude, we're talking about one play game. You gotta throw a parade for that?
Yeah, it was. Look, he's got a role. He's got a role on the team.
Yeah,
he might be. He's on the bubble for me. But right now, without going through the paces of it, I feel like he's going to be on my 53 by the time we get to whenever it's due, Sunday
at midnight, I believe. Okay. All right. I guess that'll do it for this recap of the Eagles preseason finale by Wulf, Fran, Duffy. We will be back all next week, 2:00. Although I believe we're going to move Tuesday's show to 4:00 so that we can dissect it all live right here on PHLY. Lots of fun stuff coming up. Check out the feed for more content this weekend. And go ahead.
we got a super chat.
We have a super chat.
We sure do.
Wow, how about that? Oh, from Salute to Jocko. Says, they say you learn football by playing football. What do these second team guys do to stay ready all season while they're not playing in games?
What a great question.
Right up your alley, friend. Go ahead.
It's a great question.
Tell me about the player development.
Yeah. Well, look, there's the second team guys, and then there's like that tier below them where that's where when you're talking about like the real like player development guys, and not just guys that are on the practice squad, but maybe the guys that are inactive every single week. They are working very hard behind the scenes. You know, there was the I know that they talked with Jordan Davis during the broadcast and alluded to the workouts that players did that weren't playing in the game, but the workouts they went through on the field. Obviously, those are the starter. You know, the starters did that today, but usually that would be the deep reserves. They're going to go through and they're going to go through a rigorous workout day of game. But throughout the course of the week, they're doing a lot of position-specific drills, really honing in on individual, like fine focus parts of their game to just try and improve. And there's a lot of mental toughness and mental aptitude that's required to be ready when your number is called. And so to your point, you know, well, what do these second team guys do to stay ready all season while they're not playing in games? That's why, like, when it's draft time and you're evaluating college players and projecting them to backup roles, it's not just, oh yeah, like this guy's not good enough to be a starter, he's a backup. You also have to like have everything right from a mental and intangible standpoint to be able to have that kind of role as well.
And I would the only thing I would add is that the Eagles feel internally like they have a competitive advantage in their player development program. They feel like they do that better than or as good as anybody else in the league. And, you know, they point to like a Thomas Booker's development while he was here. Even Gabe Hall, who's probably going to make this roster. These guys who were not here or we're not playing for a whole year, but we're working off to the side, you know, in these development periods and stuff like that, and really did improve over the course of that time.
Yep, so, no question.
Good question. Good way to close it off. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, please. Help us out. We will talk to you on Monday. Thank you, Julia. Shout out to Josh, who's covering the game for us. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.